The world was a blinding expanse of white, and I was a tiny, dark speck in the middle of it all. Just moments ago, my mother's warm, whiskered face was nuzzling mine. Now, there was only the vast, silent ice and the deep, dark water peeking through a crack nearby. My name is Kale, and I was alone. A sharp, piercing cry escaped my throat, a desperate call for her, but the wind snatched it away and threw it into the empty Arctic expanse. Fear, cold and sharp as an icicle, stabbed at my heart. Where had she gone? 1 minute, we were basking in the pale sun. The next, a thunderous crack split the world, and the ice floe we called home became She was on one side, I was on the other, drifting apart. I wriggled my blubbery body towards the edge, peering into the frigid depths. The water was a terrifying, swirling mystery. Mom had been teaching me to swim, but I wasn't ready, not for this. My puppy fur, my lanugo, wasn't waterproof yet. A deep dive would be a death sentence. Panic set in. I called again, louder, this time, my voice trembling. The only answer was the lonely cry of a distant seabird. Primera de to move, staying here meant freezing or starving. I began to inch my way across the ice, a clumsy shuffle slide, my flippers slapping against the frozen surface. The horizon was a relentless, unbroken line of white. Every shadow looked like my mother, and every time, my heart would leap with hope, only to be crushed again. Days blurred into a cycle of shivering and searching. Hunger was a constant, gnawing ache in my belly. I remembered my mother's milk, warm and rich, and a fresh wave of despair washed over me. I licked at the snow, the cold flakes doing little to quench my thirst or fill my stomach. I was getting weaker. My movements became slower, more deliberate. I had to conserve every ounce of energy. One afternoon, a new shape appeared on the horizon. It was large and white, like a moving snowdrift. As it got closer, I saw a formidable head, a black nose twitching, sniffing the air. Ah, polar bear. My mother's warnings echoed in my mind. The great white hunter, the lord of the ice. My blood ran cold. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide on this flat, open plain of ice. I froze, trying to make myself as small as possible to blend in with the snow. The bear padded closer, its massive paws silent on the ice. Its black eyes were fixed on me. This was it. This was the end. My short, lonely life was about to be extinguished. I closed my eyes, bracing for the inevitable. But then, a loud splash erupted from a nearby ice hole. A huge, tusked head burst from the water. A walrus, bellowing a challenge. The polar bear's attention snapped towards the new arrival. The two giants of the Arctic faced off, the bear roaring, the walrus bellowing back, its long tusks gleaming. I didn't wait to see the outcome. While the predator was distracted, I scrambled away as fast as my flippers could carry me, not daring to look back. I didn't stop until my lungs burned, and the sounds of the conflict were a faint echo behind me. I had escaped, but I was more lost than ever. The landscape had changed. New ridges of ice blocked my path. As I navigated the treacherous terrain, I stumbled upon a small pool of open water, teeming with tiny silver fish. Desperate hunger overrode my fear of the water. I remembered watching my mother hunt. I dipped my head in, the icy shock taking my breath away. I snapped clumsily at the darting shapes. Miss Biss again. My jaw ached with cold. Finally, a stroke of luck. I trapped a small Arctic cod against the ice and gulped it down. It wasn't my mother's milk, but it was food. It was life. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a flicker of hope ignited within me. I could do this. I could survive. Strengthened by my meager meal, I continued my journey. I learned to read the ice, to spot the stable paths, and avoid the thin, treacherous patches. I became a better hunter, my clumsy snaps turning into calculated lunges. I was no longer just a lost pup. I was a survivor. One day, a new sound reached my ears. It wasn't the wind or the cry of a bird. It was a chorus of barks and grunts. It was familiar, Hope surged through me, so powerful it almost knocked me over. I followed the sound, my heart pounding against my ribs. Over a large ridge of ice, I saw them, a whole colony of seals, basking in the sun, their sleek bodies dotting the ice floe like scattered stones. A rookery. I scanned the crowd frantically, my eyes darting from one seal to the next. Was she here? Could she possibly be here? And then I saw her. A little apart from the rest, staring out at the horizon, her profile unmistakable. Ma! The cry tore from my throat, raw and full of all the fear and loneliness I had endured. Her head snapped up. Her eyes found mine. For a moment, we were both frozen. Then she let out a call, a unique, guttural sound that was only for me, the sound I had been dreaming of. I scrambled towards her, and she towards me. We met in a flurry of flippers and joyful barks. I buried my face in her warm fur, the familiar scent of her washing over me, erasing the memory of the cold and the fear. She nudged, licking my face, her barks a mix of scolding and overwhelming relief. She was thinner, and her eyes held a weariness I'd never seen before. But she was here. She was alive. She told me her story through a series of urgent barks and gestures, how her own ice floe had drifted for days until it finally merged with this larger, more stable one. She had searched for me every single day. As I nestled against her, safe at last, I looked back at the vast, white world I had crossed. It was no longer just a terrifying, empty place. It was a landscape I had navigated, a challenge I had overcome. I wasn't the same pup who had been left alone on the ice. I was stronger, wiser. I had faced the lord of the Arctic and the knowing grip of hunger, and I had won. I was Kale, the survivor. And as I rested my head on my mother's side, surrounded by the comforting sounds of my colony, I knew I was finally home. My journey was over, but my new life had just begun. Thanks for watching my story. Don't forget to follow 4 more adventures from the wild.